Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything from the Pistons to the NBA draft and the Motor City Cruise.
And if you're watching live, you already know, but if you're on audio, then you don't know yet. But we are joined by a world traveler. Now, you may know him as Pistons Jack, but it's our guy, Jack Kelly. We're pumped to have you back on the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Seriously excited to be here. We've got a really fun team to talk about. I think it's been a couple of months since I've been on, so a lot's changed with this team. So really excited to catch up with you two and chat about these Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, lots changed, right? For sure. And with not just with the Pistons, right? But with you had kind of a major trip here that if people are following you on Twitter, which they should be at Pistons_Jack, they would already know. But you mind taking a second and just kind of walking through that awesome thing that you got to do?
Oh, of course. I mean, we were just saying briefly before we went live here, like it was crazy trip. I had expectations. I kind of had an idea of some of the plans of what were going to be happening while I was there. So just being in Detroit, going to games in person, that was like, that in itself was a dream for me. And I knew that was going to be so special and like so amazing to meet people in person. Like I met so many people. Like I met Laz in person at halftime. So many of the Pistons content people, but so many Pistons fans. It was just amazing. But then the stuff with like Cade and Stu, like none of that was planned. That was all just like naturally stuff that played out. Like that was incredible just to say hi to them and have some like just be able to chat to them a little bit. Like it was a crazy trip. Get like I think the one thing I will say is like the people of Detroit, everyone I met and everywhere I went was so genuine and so nice. Like I cannot wait to get back. Like the people, just like, just real honest. I don't know how else to put it. Just genuine, honest, like good sense of humor. I thought as well. Like people were funny. I just had such a good time with honestly the people of Detroit. And whenever I go back, I cannot wait to actually just get to explore downtown in the city and maybe even Michigan a little bit more because I didn't get to do a whole heap of that because it was so much basketball, which I love. But it was incredible trip.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned it, but I feel like you're underplaying it a bit. Just like all the stuff with like you got Cade Cunningham gave you his game worn jersey after a game. That's just so incredible. And personally, like I thought it was so cool how I know your favorite player is Stu and like you guys said what up to each other like when he first saw you, and then I know you like linked up again. So I just thought it was incredible. Like all of your posts, everyone, I was just like, it was just like extraordinary access. Like obviously for you, but like you're just a staple in the Pistons community. So like you're passing that on to your audience and your following. So it kind of felt like everyone was like going through the trip with you, which I thought was really cool.
It was crazy. Like there was, I mean, I get a bit embarrassed talking about it because, like, I like, I'll be honest, like, I've worked very hard and like I know I earned some of these opportunities. So like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't think I deserve it, but I do get a bit embarrassed. But like, it was just incredible, man. And it felt like so special to share it with the people I met in person, but obviously everyone online, because I appreciate everyone's support. Like I always try and be positive about this team for the most part. And I think maybe that's what people have maybe enjoyed about my content the most. But yeah, just like it was crazy. The Cade one, like I said, he's the last person. I think the Pistons have over 300, maybe 400 people working for them. He is literally the last person I would ever expect to know what I do or even want to just take the time to come over to me and say a few things like, and then to give me his jersey. Like I, I was holding it pretty together that whole first game. Like I'd already said hi to Stu and I was like pretty like G'd up about that. But after the Cade one, like I was in pure shock. Like I've got some unreleased footage of me like after he walks away and my girlfriend's Andy's still filming me. And I'm kind of just standing there and then I just lose it. And I'm like swearing because I'm just like, what? I was in so much shock. But man, just incredible. So grateful, so lucky. Like there's so many deserving fans and content creators. So to have that opportunity, like, is yeah, it's not something like I take lightly. Like, it's truly special.
I want to ask you two questions. One is more of the softball, the other one is maybe a little bit more difficult. So I want to ask which one you want first, and then we'll get to the basketball stuff.
Go the softball first.
Softball first. All right. What is something that you were expecting out of your first trip to Detroit that was just completely undersold, like way better, not even close than what you were expecting coming in?
Ah, that's a great question. I don't like, I already kind of said it, but I feel like anytime, like, obviously I'm from Australia, so like whenever I talk about Detroit, whether it's to Australians, to anyone, honestly, like, they always kind of, there's this, I don't know if it's a stigma or this thing that Detroit's like not a place you want to go to. It gets, I think,
That's in the US too, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, in the US as well. Like, anyone I talk to, honestly, outside of Detroit or someone that doesn't have family there, they always try kind of put it down. So when we were there, like, I mean, I just like the people, man. Like, I did not expect the warmth. And like, I know a lot of it was from like the basketball community in Detroit or Pistons community, but just like even in the Ubers, like, honestly, we had some of the funnest chats with our Uber drivers. Like, and I absolutely love, like, people are so grateful, like, they were like, "Oh, you're from Australia?" Um, like, they were so happy, like, "Thank you for coming to Detroit, and thank you for, like, enjoying it." Like, and I was, like, kinda taken back by that because I just see Detroit from my view of, like, it's a place I've always wanted to go, so I'm like, "Why are you thanking me?" Like, but it's because the way some people have spoken about it in the past, and I just thought it was, the city seems to be up and coming. I got to go around downtown a fair bit, and yeah, honestly, just how nice people were, seriously, especially after coming from New York. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. All right. So my harder question is basically the reverse of that. It doesn't have to be like super negative. Like what's something you were expecting to be great and it was just terrible. But like what's something you were expecting to be really good and then it happened. You're like, it's fine. It's good. I'm thinking like maybe a food take or something more
Yeah,
fun along those lines. Where it's just a little overrated.
it Wes, it is 100%, and it's funny, I was just saying, talking about Ubers. Uber Eats and Ubers in Detroit. It's not the price, it's how long it takes. And we had, so I was saying to Blake, like, and like I said, honestly didn't get to explore Detroit that much, even like food and restaurants, because like I just didn't have the time. There's so much basketball stuff. But so we were getting Uber Eats a fair bit, and like multiple times our orders took 2 hours to come. And then I ordered Buddy's Pizza and was so excited about it. Our order got stolen twice and finally got delivered on the third time after 2.5 hours. So that would be the one thing. It's just the Ubers and how long it takes. But like, I don't know. That's a that's the first thing that came to mind. It was like the one negative I had.
That's funny. I was a YouTube user put in the chat Coney dogs. That's where I thought you were going with it. And you did have a
I
Coney
like.
dog, right? What'd you think?
I was gonna say. I had I think I had an American Coney
Yes.
dog because
Yeah.
apparently the
Yeah.
Lafayette one's closed down.
It
Well,
was. I think they had
j-
like a
Yeah,
rat
I thought it was
problem.
a
yes.
temporary thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I stupidly go, so we went to the American one and I had one. I actually really like them, to be honest. It's probably a little bit
Yeah.
messy.
What's
I
not
don't
to like?
like,
It's
Hmm.
delicious.
yeah, it's probably just a little bit messy for me to have like as a constant thing, but like
Yeah.
I liked it, and I asked the lady who I think actually owns the whole American chain. I was like, "So where's the Lafayette one?" She's like, "We do not say that word here." She's like, "They've got a rat infestation and they've closed down." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, she like went on the news to say like because they're obviously associated like right next to each other, and she was
Yeah.
saying how like they don't want to be associated. I know exactly the lady you're talking about. I've never talked to her, but she does like a ton of media stuff, and she seems
Yeah.
awesome. And yeah,
Yeah.
American's good. I think Lafayette is kind of just like the staple. It's good too, but obviously like hope. I heard they have their problem under control, but yeah, you probably made the right choice for the timing you were there. Before we get to basketball stuff, I have to just say one more thing that sort of it might actually be a nice transition. So the NBA said that, or announced that they're going to Australia for a game for the first time. Like the NBL teams have obviously come to the States for preseason exhibitions, but it's either,
Like,
I think it is
early
next
October.
season.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's this
Yeah.
preseason.
The New Orleans Pelicans are going, and I believe they're going to be by you, right? In Melbourne.
I think both games are in Melbourne because they're playing the two Melbourne NBL teams.
No, yeah. So I was saying the Pistons need to get on that list, like strictly because of you. Like I feel like that's a no brainer. It just makes all the
I'm
sense of the world. The news said like the NBA wants to grow that just their base there more, so it makes all the
I
sense in the
think
world to me.
No, I would love that, Blake. And the last thing is, I think honestly, one of my highlights as well has been as more Australian Pistons fans have come across my account, they've just been like, "Oh, I thought I was the only Pistons fan," or just even having my own friends all turn into Pistons fans, people who don't care about basketball,
That's
and if
awesome.
they do, they certainly haven't watched the Pistons before. Like, so I'm doing my bit. There's actually a really nice fan base, amount of fans down here in Australia. So because a lot of them have ties to the bad boys and going to work teams, so.
Hmm.
Um, Hopefully we get the Pistons here one day. That would be cool.
It's a no brainer.
Yeah, they got to do it. That'd be really sweet, especially for just like a preseason game. Why you can?
Yeah.
They being the Pistons, they obviously request to play a home game on March 13th every year. Why can't you just request the Australian preseason game? I mean, come on, it's not that hard. Just let it be. Just let it happen.
It I will say it's quite the trip down here though. It is. It
Well,
took
that's
me
true.
so,
Yeah,
but
geez,
no,
how many layovers did you have again? Wasn't it something
I
insane?
booked. Yeah, I suggested to the Pistons some horrible flights from my end, so it took 30 hours to get over there. But you can do it.
Oh, good lord.
You can do it in like 20 to 24 hours.
Yeah, because
It's
that's
good team
so much better.
bonding.
Good team
Yeah,
Like
I
bonding for
know.
sure.
See,
Yeah.
that sounds so much better to me, but I know, yeah, it still sounds crazy.
Yeah. Well, all right. We've got a pretty dang exciting Pistons team to talk about here. And look, Jack, I think you were the cure to Blake and I our bad luck here because we had a streak of recording right after Pistons losses, even though the team was doing really well. And while, we bring you on, we're announcing it, this is all well and good. And then in a game where I don't know. They may have lost this earlier in the year. Cade hits a crazy bank shot from the top of the key to win the game and put down the Heat in a game that, if you're a Heat fan, you're thinking, man, we should have won that game. We had that. So just give us the high level rundown of your takeaways from that incredible win.
What a game. Like I think that's Kate's first like true. It wasn't a walk off buzzer beater, but there was like zero point 0.3 seconds. Like I think my immediate reaction was like just so happy for him to have his moment, because he he played well, but up until those back to back threes he hit in the final minute, obviously one to win the game, he'd missed a couple of key shots. He had the shot clock violation, which I kind of put on him. He had that turnover after that amazing block. So he just had a few moments before those shots where it's like, okay, he's played well, he's got the triple double, but like, we should beat this Heat team. Like they'd lost 8 in a row. Um, so my immediate thoughts just go straight to him and how much I think that shot will do for his confidence. Not that I think his confidence is an issue at all, but just to get that, like I think he even said in the post game press conference, like it's my first game winning three. Like, so I think just for his confidence in closing games, backing his shot, to hit 3 or 4 from deep after struggling a little bit for a few games there, I think it's just awesome for Cade. And then uh, the national media stuff hadn't normally been something I was too worried about, but I always just think it's extra nice that he did that on that stage. The Lakers were playing after, so like a lot of like neutral basketball fans are at least watching that last quarter in the lead up to watching Luca with the Lakers. So I think it's just huge for him. And then for this Pistons team, like um to have a win like that after they absolutely killed the Pelicans. Speaking of the team that's coming to Australia, nearly lost by 50 to our Detroit Pistons. But You had the Wizards loss, the OKC game. I was actually pretty proud of their effort in that one. But yeah, just an awesome moment for Cade, and I think it's just the way this season's trending. It's crazy. I think are they 39-31? I want to say. Um,
I believe
the
so, yeah.
it's honestly unbelievable. I was just so happy and so happy for like the fan base, honestly. Just that's where my thoughts always go to pretty much like um us as fans and people like yourselves who've done these shows like week in, week out. Like it's so nice to have a team that we're in March. We've got a week left of March and we're not looking at the draft. I haven't looked at one big board. But sorry, I'm rambling there, but just so much I'm just so happy for everyone involved, but particularly Kate.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that was a true moment, and I mean, just when you are jockeying for playoff positioning, like they are 39 and 31, they are tied with the Bucks for the fifth seed. They have one more win than the Bucks right now, even though the Bucks hold the tiebreaker. But just that moment is incredible. Like I was trying to think about moments that were that exciting, at least in the past however many years, and obviously if you go back beyond this season, you have to cherry pick some, and the only one that I could really remember was like when the Pistons won the lottery, and eventually like selected Cade with it. So like this is the first basketball thing I could remember, just with the shot, with it being a game that was flexed to national TV, with how this team is overperforming. And yeah, YouTube user mentioned like he had a terrible feeling about the game until that shot. Like I felt the same way. It just, and JB said it after the game too. Like they kind of couldn't get over the hump, and but they stayed in striking distance, and like eventually it worked out at the end. The Pistons and Heat always seem to play like these really tight games, going back to last season too. But yeah, there's like I had some thoughts on the defense down the stretch, but like all that just goes out the window when you have a shot like that and you win the game like that. Just the confidence that it can do for it, Cade, definitely, like you said, and just like the team as a whole. Like they've been finding a way to win these games.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like you guys have been saying, those are the moments in young careers that kind of build upon each other, right? Like this whole season could be, and I would say at this point probably likely is, but if Cade's about to go on and have a superstar run here over the next 5, 6, 7 years, however long he's at a peak, right? Then this is the kind of stuff that just goes into the aura, right? That continues to get larger and larger and larger until it's just an unstoppable force in a few years. But on the opposite end of this, well, not necessarily opposite end, because this isn't like it's a negative thing, but I did want to talk about that, that terrible feeling, right? That YouTube user brings up, and Blake, that you mentioned that you had, because I had it too. And if you're looking at the box score, if we're like really just taking more of a, I guess, statistical look at this game, it wasn't that bad, right? Like it's odd
Yeah.
that we're sitting here, we're watching that game, and everyone had that sinking feeling in their stomach where you're just seeing a team that they're hanging around, they're sticking with them, but they just can't seem to get over the hump. Miami seems to have slowed down the pace, but at the same time, the Pistons and Heat both scored over 110 points in this game, actually both getting close to I believe what their season averages are. So it's not like it was a ridiculously slow or physical game. You talk about maybe that it just felt the Pistons couldn't hit shots at some points, and I agree with that too. But Tobias Harris was 6 of 9, Asar Thompson 7 of 10, Cade 11-25, Duran 6 of 9 again. Like they shot over 50% from the floor. So it's this really weird kind of
Yeah,
split
but
between the vibes of that game and then what it actually seemed to be. Like, what do we make of that?
well, I think I mean the thing that stood out to me is like I didn't think the Pistons were really that bad, and I think Blake mentioned what JB said in the press conference. It
Yeah,
just
I
felt
didn't either.
like it was just constant. Like the Pistons weren't awesome, but it just felt like the Pistons would get it back to within three or maybe one, but then Davion Mitchell comes down and hits this floating fader M1, or Bam had 30 in the first 3 quarters, like he'd been averaging 11 the 4 games prior, or you're getting a Tyler Hero pull-up three, or a Duncan Robinson, one of those like flying off a handoff, hitting with someone in his base, hitting a three. Like,
Yeah.
I think Miami really came out wanting to. This sounds a bit stupid, but they really wanted to win that game. Like they're desperate for a win. It felt like they're on their home floor, ESPN. Or forget the national TV thing. They've lost 8 in a row. Like that's not something Eric Spoelstra's Miami Heat do. That's not something Bam Adebayo has probably ever done in his career, and Tyler Hero, if that matters. So I think they came out wanting to win that game and threw everything at the Pistons. And I think that's why I had that sinking feeling of like, I think it was when Davion Mitchell hit that kind of floating floater where he's going to the side over Durant. I was like, oh, it might just be their night. Like, I think that put them up by 3, but he misses a free throw, and then everything kind of went the Pistons' way from there a little bit. But yeah, I thought the Heat were really good, and our guys did enough. And our superstar, I feel like he's legit. Maybe I'm putting a bit of glaze on it, but he's a true star, and he's getting very close.
No glaze.
Like,
Nope.
yeah, he's a
None
superstar.
detected.
I can say that.
Yeah.
I can say that. He's our superstar. Did what superstars do? Close the game.
Well, yeah, the superstar thing, like, it really hits me when so last week we talked about, I think it was the OKC home loss where like it wasn't Cade's best game, but he still had 38 and 10. He just like couldn't find a shot from 3. And then last night, I mean, it was a great game, but he had a triple double like late in the third quarter, early fourth or whatever it was. Like those things, especially just through the lens of like watching the game on ESPN, like it, like those are things that Nikola Jokic does. Like I'm thinking about the game a few weeks ago when he had a triple double in the first half and then got another triple double in the second half. Like it's just these like incredible, just like filling up the box score, but just like clearly being the best player on the court when they're not like it's not just them like shooting out of their minds and like Davion Mitchell had a good night. He couldn't really miss the shots he was taking. Like it's not something like that. Like Cage just doing what he does every night and like he eventually like gets to where he needs to go. And there are very few teams in the NBA like maybe like less than a third, I'd say, where I don't think that Cade is the best player on the floor, which like the Pistons haven't had someone like that in forever. And like really that's the hardest thing to do in the NBA these days is like get that guy. And I just think the Pistons were so fortunate to win the lottery in the year they did to be able to get a superstar like this who just like he really does have the it factor, even though that's not really something that you can quantify.
Guys, it just is a detour. How crazy is it that Blake, you make that statement? Cade Cunningham was the best player on the floor against the Miami Heat. All 3 of us agree with that. I would venture to guess that everyone listening to the podcast agrees with that. Bam Adebayo had 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. He shot 50% from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3. Tyler Hero, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He went 3 of 9 from 3 and also 50% from the floor. These are the guys, the other superstars, right? The other stars for the other team that Cade is competing with. And almost without question, I think Cade had a bigger impact. How insane is that to have in Detroit? How unreal.
It's crazy. I was saying the other day, like, I'm not sure how far back your Pistons viewing goes, but like, I think he's the most talented player. I can't say best now because of the playoff success, but he's the most talented player the Pistons have had on their roster since Grant Hill. Would that be right?
I think so because I think like the all around game is there, and like certainly the Pistons have had some of the best like defend like Hall of Fame
Yeah.
defenders, and like Cade's obviously not at that level, but I think like all around as a scorer, the plays he makes, like good rebounder, and just like how he controls the game, like I think
Yeah.
that's totally fair, especially when you go to the going to work era, and that was like the best 5 alive, and it was sort of every player was great and incredible, but they all had specific things that they excelled at, and it just was a team without a true star. And this team is just like is different in a good
Yeah.
way, I'd say.
And like
Who-
to
Oh,
Wes's
sorry. Go
point,
ahead.
it's like, sorry, Wes, I just was on because I
No,
like
no.
what you said there. Like, I think that's why I always go back to him. It's funny, Blake mentioned it earlier. Like, that's why when they actually won the lottery, but up and like the day they won that lottery still will be so high. Some people say that's a bit sad or whatever, but the reason it is because
Jack, I
at
ran
least
loops in my apartment.
yeah.
I'm not even
I
kidding. I really did.
because I think it was like, and I wasn't even doing a lot of draft stuff at that time, but I just knew from watching some videos like there's this aura, there's this it factor about him. He's a 6'6" guy that can pass, dribble, shoot, rebound. He's got like it's like what that type of player, at least since I've been a fan, isn't something we get with the Pistons. Like it just so like at least in my experience. So to get him and for, when they actually drafted him, the reason that I think we all felt that way is for moments like last night, where like what Wes
Mhm.
said, it's like he's and what you said, like he's out and out the best player on the court 2/3 of the time. Like, and it's only that percentage is only going to increase as he gets older and more experienced. But um, it's an amazing feeling, Wes. I still have to pinch myself a little bit. I'm just not used
And
to it.
I want to put some numbers to this because I think the only player really, at least in recent memory, that can challenge the statement you made there is Blake Griffin, right? Well, listen to this. Okay, Blake Griffin, his best year in Detroit, the one year where he was insane, all-star, all NBA, right? 24 and a half points per game, 5.5 assists, 7.5 rebounds. Here's Cade Cunningham this year. 25 and a half points, 6.1 rebounds, 9.3 assists. He's in excess of all of that. And this is true as well. Let me just double check. Yeah, this is true too. If we even take the peak, right? The peak month for Blake Griffin was a tick under 30 points, about 7 rebounds, and 5.7 assists. The peak of Cade Cunningham this year was pretty much right in that same range. It was about 28 points, 5.9 rebounds, and more assists. It was eight and
Yeah.
a half assists. So like, yeah, that's just where we're at. This is the best individual season since anything Grant Hill put out. I think that's just safe. That's a safe statement right now.
Yeah, and Cade's a top 10 scorer across the league. And if you go to assists, the only people averaging more assists than him per game are Nikola Jokic and Trey Young. And like combine that, like he's a good rebounding guard too. Like he just kind of does it all. And like if you look at Trey, like Cade is not the same player as Trey Young defensively in a good way. Like he kind of just does it all. And Jack, back to what you were saying about the draft, like how many years have there been where there's like a clear cut number one who turns into this star? I mean, I think the most recent one you can go to is obviously Victor, but I'm thinking of like the guards like Anthony Edwards. But if you go back
He
further,
wasn't clear cut. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even clear that the Pistons were going to take Cade. Like I know Troy liked Evan Mobley. There was some Jalen Green talk, but obviously the right decision. And Cade's like separating himself from that class. But if you go back to like when the Celtics got Jason Tatum, like they didn't take him number one overall. Luca wasn't number one overall. So I think it was just like a great year for the Pistons to get that lottery luck, even after all the years where we dropped to number five and all the jokes that we had about that. It was just incredible luck too. Cause even like there was Zion, but Zion has had the health concerns that his career has had. So it's it's just was the perfect scenario, I'd say.
Can I quickly ask you guys a question just while we're talking about this? Because it's something I've been struggling with and I keep thinking about. So the Cade we're seeing this season, West just rattled off the numbers. Like in my mind, and I know it goes beyond the stats, but this was like the version of Cade I saw in end of year 5, year 6, like where he's giving you 25, wasn't, and I honestly never maybe I just didn't evaluate him properly. I wasn't sure he'd be a guy that give you 25 and 10 like he's doing now, but we know the stats. And so like that's what I thought for like real peak Cade, like year 6. And how much do you think like him being the way he is this season has to do with the roster that was put around him in, we'll say, his year 2 and 3, compared to him just going through what he's been through with the losing, the learnings, all of that? Um, and how much, like, what do you think's played more of a factor? Him finally getting some shooting and a roster that makes sense, or the learnings, or is it just he was just a little bit slower to find that, to have this moment? Because I feel like even Ant Edwards, it was like, was he in the playoffs in like year 2? Definitely year 3. Some of these other guys, they peak, not peak, you know what I mean? They arrive a little bit earlier as number 1 pick. I feel like Cade's a little bit later. Sorry, it's a long question, but I hope it made some sense.
No, it's a good question. I think it's so tough because honestly, I think it has to be a mixture. But if I had to pick one, like I think you have to give the credit to Cade just for what he's been doing this year. Like I'm totally with you, Jack. Like I think I s- I envisioned this for Cade once he was drafted and brought in. I didn't think it would happen this quickly, especially after the season that happened last year and then Cade's year 2 with the injury and everything. So I think just the leap he's taken and just been consistently getting better in every fashion lends itself to that only because like Trajan Langdon did make great acquisitions when he came in. And I mean, specifically, like the Malik Beasley one is just incredible. Like the guy who's made the most threes in the NBA, like that solves your floor spacing problems a lot. But like overall, the core makeup of this team is pretty much the same. And especially after Ivy went down, like Cade's playing next to Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, like not guys who space the floor for him in a lot of his minutes. And obviously, like Tobias has been good. Like THJ has knocked down shots at time, and then you have Malik coming off the bench. So overall, I would have to lean to just giving the credit to the player in this one.
I want to go back to what you opened with, right? That it's kind of a mixture. Because honestly, I don't think that we can really separate these two things. Because if you look at what Cade had to deal with as a point guard, specifically last season, but even going back to his rookie year and the few games he played in the start of his second season in the league, like you're dealing with horrible, horrible spacing, ungodly spacing. Do you remember the starting lineup, game 1? Last season, Cade Cunningham, flanked by Killian Hayes, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. That's not just 2 bad shooters out there. That is 3 guys that are allergic to putting the ball up from behind the long line. And one guy that, like, yeah, he shoots it, and he shot, Stewart, that is, shot 5 attempts, a little bit more than 5 attempts from 3 last season, right? But he wasn't proven at that point. It was totally theoretical. And that's game 1, and he played reasonably well. Yeah, turnovers were an issue, but whatever. I think that all of that it's such a constrained floor. The angles of success become much smaller, right? His margin of error becomes much smaller. And we saw over the course of that season that he was able to kind of figure out how to avoid that turnover problem and still get his guys involved and still get his. He relied on the mid range a lot more than he's doing now. I think that's directly a byproduct of that. But you take that, a guy that figured out over the course of essentially 2.5 years how to find some level of success in the absolute worst scenario that you ever could have put him in to find that success. And then you provide that same player with now a roster that makes sense. Now the roster has floor spacing. Now, even when he's playing with Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, 1, they're pushing the pace more than they ever did last year. And 2, you're flanked by Tobias Harris, who's a good 3-point shooter, and Tim Hardaway Jr., who, yeah, the percentage goes up and down, but he's a flamethrower when he gets hot, right? Now it makes a lot of sense. Now he has space. Now he has a larger margin for error. Now the angles that he can attack are much broader, right? His ability to get to the rim is much stronger, much more available to him, not only because he put on strength, right, but also just because there's less help, even when guys are sending double teams against him. So I don't think that you can really separate the failures of the past, because in this case, he found success in those failures. And now what we're seeing is there's no ceiling anymore. Because I'm with you, Jack. When he was coming out of Oklahoma State, I was thinking that, peak, absolute peak would be somewhere around 24 points per game, and then, a lot of rebounds, lots of assists. I was not thinking that we were ever going to see this type of scoring and efficiency with Cade Cunningham. I was wrong. There's no ceiling anymore. Okay. He figured out something over these past couple of years, and then now it's just, let's just watch and enjoy what happens from now on.
It's crazy. No, Wes, I agree with everything you guys have said. Like I think I just was after last season. I think that took such a toll on me. I wasn't even sure of all this young core, but Cade as well. And he's obviously, like you said, the ceiling really feels limitless. It's crazy.
Let's stick with this here for a second, because Dylan22 TBB comments. He says, with the ascension of Cade Cunningham becoming a top 10 player, which very strong argument that he is, even without the health stuff for some other potential would be all NBA guys. Do the Pistons have the best young core in the NBA?
I think he can't. Like, is OKC still a young core? Like, it's hard to go past
Yeah, I
them,
think
man.
so.
Like, I like I can't say the best, but it's funny what 65, 70 games of NBA hoops, how that can change the perception, because I'm thinking of the Houston Rockets, like Pistons. Like Cade is so much like I think Cade is head and shoulders above anyone they have on their team. Love him, Thompson, but Cade, what he's doing. So like I would take our core over the Rockets. Would I take their entire roster situation with all the picks and everything they can move? I don't know. But just in terms of young cores, like, man, I would take ours over the Magic now. Uh, I'm obviously biased. I think OKC is still number one to answer the question.
Yeah, I think the ones that stuck out to me where you can argue against is OKC and Houston. I'm with you on the Magic. I mean, like obviously a good young core there, but there's been some injury concerns and they just gave KCP all that money, who's like not giving them as much. So I don't think it's necessarily the best young core, just because I think Oklahoma City is such like a standout, and like Shea, I know we'll probably talk about the officiating and the whistle that he gets, but he's only 26 years old and he's maybe going to win the MVP. Personally, I think it should be Jokic, but like Shea is, if Shea wins the MVP, it's much deserved for what he's doing on the best team in the West. And the thing that separates OKC, and I guess an argument you could make for Houston, to me, is just the sheer amount of like players and assets they have are just more than what the Pistons are working with. But you go back and like both of those teams were able to start their rebuilds and their asset collection with better players to deal and accumulate those picks than the Pistons did. So I think with what the Pistons have and where they're standing, and by the way, like we're not talking about any team in the Eastern Conference. So like if we're breaking it out that way, I think the Pistons definitely have the best young core in the East. Um, so overall, like I think I saw a graphic today, I think on Twitter, about how like each fan base of the NBA is feeling about their future. And like obviously the Suns are like horrible, but the Pistons are one of few teams that were like great. And like I'd agree with that. I'd put them right next to Houston and OKC and maybe a few others that like you can look to the future and just be excited about it, because even as we get into these playoffs, like this is an overachieving year. I know once you're there, you want to win and we want to see how far this team can go, but like this is just the start of it. And when you have a player like Cade that you just locked down to his rookie extension, like there are so many more avenues that you can go, which not a lot of teams can say right now.
So, can I ask you guys, because I think what stands out from really both of your answers is not necessarily heavy lifting, but how much Cade swings this into the Pistons' favor, right? He's 23 years old, and you can make an argument that, I mean, he's almost assuredly like a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA. That obviously elevates the whole core, right? Just by pulling everyone else up. So if we remove Cade from the core, right, just for the sake of conversation, how do the Pistons stack up to say the Magic in the East, or maybe even like the Atlanta Hawks, who have some exciting young pieces with Daniels and Risa Shea? How do the Pistons non-Cade young players stack up, I guess?
I will say, I think it's taking out Cade clearly shifts things considerably. Like I would
It's
obviously
not a
take
fair
the
question
Magic.
to be
No, but
honest.
I think it's just I like it's a good way to talk about the other guys and some of their development. Because I think yeah, that I'm still not sure if there's a number two guy in there. Probably lean towards no, but at the same time, like Asar Thompson, what he's been doing definitely in like 2025, since coming back and being able to get some games under his belt after the health scare. Like, thought even last night, like some of his finishes, some of the stuff he does in transition is just like special. Like that's it's like him and his brother, the only ones that can do that. Um, Wes, I'd actually be really keen to hear your thoughts on Jalen Duren because I know um, rightfully, like I was very disappointed with him after last season, and pretty disappointed with him for the first 2 months of the season. But him just picking up his energy, him playing with Asar, I think defensively has shown me a different side of JD. That's, I don't think he's going to ever be a top 10 defensive center, but his rebounding, some of his shot blocking and rim protection's gotten better. Even if some of the stuff in space, he still has issues. Like he's certainly trending in the right way. So I don't know. And Jaden Ivey, I still think he is probably the second best player of the core behind Cade, obviously. So I'm still very high on him and what he can be because just before that broken leg, he had like one of the best 5 game stretches of his career. So if he can just be more consistent, uh, maybe he can be that. I think he's probably going to be a number 3 guy, is where I'm with JI. But they're in a very exciting young core, and I'm definitely looking at them in a lot more positive way than in the last season. And Ron Holland, who knows what Ron will be? I don't know. I know he's
Ball of clay.
whatever type of player he ends up being, he's going to be really good in that role, if that makes sense. Like you could tell me he's going to be the number 3 guy. You could. I'm not sure about that, but you could tell me he's going to be that. You could tell me he's going to be number 2, and I believe you. You could tell me he's going to be like the best Swiss Army knife, like do it all wing, kind of like the Thompson twins, and I believe you. Like I think his mentality, and like you said, he's just a ball of clay. You could, however they want to mold him, and he wants to mold himself. I think it's going to be a good outcome. So it's a really exciting young core, even if I'm not sure they've got that true like they don't have a France, I would say but they've got a whole heap of guys who I could see being a number 3.
Yeah, my main point, I guess, if we try to look at the core in the lens of like what if we didn't have Cade, I just think it's so hard because Cade is one of those players who makes everyone around him better. Like I feel like I'm picking on Contavious Caldwell Pope right now, but like he got all that money to sign with the Magic after he was playing with Nikola Jokic for 2 years in a row, and like we're seeing what's happening this year. Like before that, he spent time playing off
Are you
LeBron
saying
James.
Paulo's not as good as Jokic?
Yeah, pretty confidently. So I just think Cade is one of those guys who's going to make the players around him better. And like if he wasn't here, like where the Pistons core would be, I think is like, and I don't mean this as a slight at all, is like similar to the Washington Wizards, where you just have like a bunch of these young players who aren't really proven, and you're looking for like the guy, and I think finding the guy is just like really the hardest thing to do. And obviously the Pistons still have a lot to figure out, but they've figured out the hardest part. And yeah, YouTube user like brings up the cap situation going forward. That's totally something like to keep in the back of your mind. You're gonna have to pay all these guys, and Malik Beasley's on a 1 year deal, Tobias on two, THJ expiring too. So I think it's totally fair to keep it in mind. But once you have Cade locked down, I feel like everything will fall into place, especially with the front office that we have now.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into a voicemail question here from a fella. I'm hoping that I'm going to pick the one that has to do with foul trouble after the OKC game. But if I am wrong, then we'll handle whichever question that is.
Hey guys, first and foremost, always appreciate your Pistons content. Great way to just hang out in the morning on my way to work. But this is a fella from the DBB comments. I just finished taking a look at some of the post-game stuff from the Pistons Thunder game. I want to know, what do you think is up with the officiating? Like, are the Pistons really getting a bad whistle, or is the fact that I'm mad as a fan distorting the way I'm looking at the game? You tell me, what do you think about how the Pistons get whistled and officiated in general? And just what are your general thoughts? All right, appreciate the pod, and y'all have a good one.
So first of all, thanks to a fella for the kind words and for listening to the podcast on the way to work. I love that. That makes me feel good about posting the podcast at 4 a.m. Well, I don't wake up at that time, but I do schedule it to be posted at 4 a.m. And I always feel like, is it too early? No. All right. So I feel good about that. But what do you guys think? All right. So that OKC game in particular, the third quarter, right at the end of the OKC game, was interesting, to put it lightly. But what do you think about that? What do you guys think about just in general, the way the Pistons been officiated, and then what they maybe can expect, what we can expect as fans here as we're coming up into the playoffs?
It's tricky. I think the Pistons play with an edge. Like, I think a lot of them having the number one defense in this year comes from them being physical. They obviously have a few really good defensive players, but they play physical. They want to make you feel their fouls. So part of me feels like they're kind of a tough team to officiate, but I also think their whistle they get is often more slanted to the disrespectful side. And I'm not sure if that's because the irrelevancy of the team in the past decade plus, or it's because they got so many young players. But the OKC game that was very interesting towards the end of the third. I didn't like the Cade. His first tech made no sense. Yes, he was a little aggressive in the way he was telling the ref to line us up, but he was actually correct with what he's saying. So if you're an official and you make a mistake, you can't also like be that sensitive, I want to say. And then to throw him out, I don't know. I think he kept going. He kept going. I felt like with the way the first take was given out, he was going to get ejected. Didn't agree with that. It's tricky. I feel like the Pistons whistle definitely isn't a good one, but I think it's something they'll earn with the playoff appearance. Kay getting the love he's getting, potentially All NBA second team, All NBA first team, even maybe. So I think it's something that's going to improve in time, definitely next season. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating for sure. I do. Actually, I'll ask you a question after this. I'll let Blake go next.
Well, I want to
Yeah.
throw in real quick, Blake. Sorry to jump in ahead
No,
of you,
no.
but in general, I disagree that the Pistons get a bad whistle in general. I think if you look at the foul discrepancy and the free throw discrepancy in most games, it is comparable. So I lean more to what you brought up, right? The Pistons they're a physical team. They're naturally going to foul a little bit more, but they are still getting pretty good calls on the other way. It's not like we're usually getting something super slanted. If you are a listener of this podcast, you know I hate talking about officiating and blaming the officials for outcomes, okay? The end of that third quarter was ridiculous. That was unacceptable. It was one of the most just shocking things I have witnessed in terms of officiating in a basketball game at like any level. Okay, I'm not even just talking about the NBA. I was I was so over the moon mad at what was going on right there. You make a mistake in the first part on blowing the whistle on Stewart, right, to review.
Yeah.
If you're what the original official did, and I would say what he rightfully did, was stop action because you had a guy down underneath the basket. That's a dangerous position. Stop action, make sure the guy's okay. All good. But then to take that and go, well, wait a second, actually, hang on. We might call a foul here. Let's go review. And then to like somehow that might be hostile. I don't understand that at all. But then you go on, okay, common foul, who cares? So we've made one mistake, right? We've made one mistake by retroactively calling this foul on a smart dead ball call, all right, to make sure that Lou Dort is protected. So we make that one mistake already. We don't line anybody up. We give a tech to a superstar who gets mad at it. And then we give him another tech because he's mad that I'm mad at him. Like, get a thicker skin. I was so mad. This is the rare instance of awful officiating in the NBA. It doesn't happen often. It did. That was terrible.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and I guess the good thing to come out of it is we got probably the best NBA coach rant of the entire year with JB's press conference after,
and the
like
crumpled up paper becoming famous.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was unreal. Did he get fined for that, by the way? Because I haven't seen that he did.
I
Not as
haven't seen it.
recently as 2 days ago.
That's
He's
Finally.
going to, though. Surely.
If
If he was justified, I don't know. Maybe we can get tinfoil
I feel
hat
like
on
we
this
would
one.
have probably had seen the fine by now. Like it's been
that's what I thought too.
a
Yep, I
while. We've
agree.
had 2 games between.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought too. Like, I mean, if he gets away with that, like that really tells you something. But yeah, just the whistle overall, like
Like the
I think
pool report lied. The pool report lied about why the whistle was blown initially. You could see the refs stare at Lou Dort and go, "Oh crap, stop." And they said in the pool report that we stopped to review Isaiah Stewart's action. I think JB's 100% justified and he's not even going to pay a dime.
that would be amazing. But yeah, I think just like I mean, luckily you only play OKC twice a year. And I just don't think the game that Cade plays, it's so different than what Shea does. I mean, incredible player, but he literally does commit offensive fouls and then somehow gets free throws out of it. So it's like I don't think Cade is ever going to be that guy, but I do think there is a bit of a superstar whistle. Like he's always been a player who shot a lot of free throws, but since he's evolved, he's shot more and more. I think he's averaging like 9 free throw attempts per game this year. And like Jalen Brunson, since obviously he didn't shoot as many free throws when he was in Dallas playing with Luca, but since his free throw attempts per game have gone up since he got to New York. Then he was named an all-star and then up more again. So like I think with Cade's growth, you're going to see him get more of that benefit of the doubt. And yeah, JB said it during his rant too. Like this team, just how they play, they toe the line. They know that they play a little bit aggressive, so maybe they will get some calls that probably shouldn't be calls every now and then. But if it impacts the outcome of a game, like this one did, and especially like losing your star player at the end of the third quarter when that was a close game that the Pistons could have won, like that was like excruciatingly bad. And you have to think that there's like I hope there was something behind the scenes where the officials were just told like, hey, this was a mistake, this is something like you can't do, because it was just so incredibly horrible.
Jack, if I could
Yeah.
jump in super quick
Go.
before we throw it to you, because I know you said you had a question. Just because this has been the Cade Cunningham Hype podcast, I feel that we have to throw in right here to not take the free throw increase that he has had since the All-Star break completely out of his control. I think he has gotten a lot better at drawing those 50-50 fouls in the contact. Like that is a skill, and he has noticeably improved at it. So I don't want to take it completely out of it.
No, for sure. Actually, I'm sorry. I've completely forgot the question I was going to ask, but I was just going to comment on the JB thing and still no fine because I think I'm not sure if you said that or Wes or Blake, but the fact we've heard nothing probably says a lot from the NBA's point of view because uh that rant, as much as we loved it, is certainly fine worthy. So the fact he hasn't gotten one and it has been 2 games in between that weren't back to backs probably says a fair bit. Now, maybe we're going to get off the podcast and he's going to have a fine, but I feel like these things normally get handled within a day
Yeah.
or two, but maybe I'm wrong.
Look, my tinfoil hat is covered in dust. It hasn't been brought out in quite some time, but yeah, I'm wearing it right now. All right, I think I'm with you. They are cool with that rant because they know that they were wrong. Let's get into the other voicemail question here, just to keep moving us along from a fella.
Hey guys, so again, this is a fella, and first and foremost, as always, appreciate the pod. You guys are doing an excellent job, loving the content. Secondly, my question, a little different flavor than the first one. What has been your favorite Pistons narrative up to this point in the season? What's been your favorite Pistons story? All right, can't wait to hear from you. Talk to you.
All right, I love this one, Jack. Let's start with you. What's been just the most fun narrative from this year?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's a few. I think for me, I think it's probably the Cade one, but just to keep it a bit more interesting, I think for me is the identity of this team and how much it represents the city they play for. Do you know what I mean? Like we're just talking about the tough vows, the Tex, Stu. He's turned himself into I don't even want to call him Draymond. I think he's turned himself into like a a Rick Mahorn type character. I think he's turned himself into like there's so many of those similarities between the past Pistons teams. I know Jaden Ivey's out, but we've got that backcourt like that championship Pistons teams have. I think they've just. I wasn't sure if this day was going to come, but it's funny how like the success and when you can really feel something successful brewing, you just have to look back to the teams who were most successful for this franchise. And I think that's honestly been my favorite thing. Like just seeing how like the defense, the toughness, like we're the number one. I keep saying we. I'm so hyped up. Like I feel like I'm on the team. Get me
You
that
pretty
get
much
me
are
that
though.
excited. but we have the number one ranked defense in a 38 game sample. Like it's crazy. Like I think it's hard not to just I haven't seen I wasn't around for those teams as a fan, but um, it's so fun to root for a team that's gritty, that hustles, that doesn't take any, I'm not gonna swear, but you know what I mean. Like I love rooting for a team like that, the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, my gut went to Cade, but just to like zoom it out, and I mean a little bit like what you said, but I just think the sheer amount of like exciting basketball games that this team has played this year, like it's been so fun to watch. Maybe for Pistons fans, definitely not as good for the heart rate and everything, but like that worldwide wob guy on Twitter is just like started a thing like just another Pistons game, and it's because they always end in like the craziest ways. And I think that's been so exciting. And you couple it with all the wins that are happening, all the individual development that this team has had, like just what they are representing for the city, like you mentioned, Jack, and like off the court, just all the good vibes, which is such like a hard thing to talk about because so much happens behind the scenes that we're not seeing. But I feel like it really just comes across, and you can see it. So just like playing exciting basketball, like I feel like a big expectation coming into the season was you want to be playing competitive basketball in February, March, and April, and like we've got that for the whole season and then some.
All right, I want to jump into this next one from Tony Buckets because it's really fun, and I know we're about to come up on a time limit here, and we got to let you go. So, I mean, Jack, as much as we'd like to, we can't take up all of your day, right? So this is a two-parter. All right, it says one, what are your favorite metaphors or idioms in basketball or sports coverage? And two, what idioms or metaphors do you think sports commentators should stop using? I love this one. What do you think?
Man, I can't. This is a tough one. I might let one of you two go first. What you
I
say
can
might
go.
trigger my memory.
I can go. So I think just for like my favorites, I think one of my favorite ones has to be when you get like a bang from Mike Breen. I wish he was calling the Cade game last night because I feel like that was definitely worthy of one. And just to keep it local, like I feel like George Blaha has some classic ones like count that baby in a foul, like off the heel, just such a legend and things like that. And in terms of like ones that they should not use. I think this is more of like my writing brain coming to me and like trying to avoid cliches and stuff. But I think when you say, like, when you see someone say or write that someone's like scorching hot or like heating up from three, I feel like that one can get overdone and a player can like miss a lot of shots. So that's such a hard one. I'd probably need to think a little bit more about it. And also shout out to Tony Buckets for that question, Wes, because in the comments he mentioned that this came out of us talking about the pillow fight game last week, which Jack, we just were talking about games between like bad teams that are both tanking. So I think it's so much easier for like commentators just to have their signature, and it's tough because it comes up so natural. But yeah, Mike Breen is the one that sticks out to me, but we got a good one with Blaha too.
Jack, you got a couple, or do you need more time?
I'll just say what it doesn't answer this question really, but I've loved a re-energized George Blaha this season,
Oh,
especially
he's
in the past
feisty.
few
Hey, I
months.
love it.
He's feisty, and I've seen Keith Blacktradeau tweet out a few times that George, this is who George always was. He just hasn't had the team,
Yeah, he's
a
been
competitive
hibernating
team.
since like 2010.
Exactly. So, yeah, like long gun. Like I even like that, like for 3-pointers, like you say, then the long gun. He's got so many good ones, and just hearing him get back to feisty George has been an absolute treat for me on the broadcast. I've loved it.
Yeah, I think Tony Buckets also mentioned in his this comment that one of his favorites is like when someone says in their bag, and I think it's
Mhm.
Mark Jackson who says like deep in his bag, like the fries at the bottom. That's a great one.
All right, I'm gonna go negative though. You know, it's one that drives me up a wall.
This will
It's
be good.
as defense is just effort. You know, to be a good defender, you just got to try harder. And
That's
like,
a good one.
no, I could not listen. If you put me in an NBA game, I will play my butt off for you. All right, I will give it 110%, maybe 120 if that's even physically possible. I'll lay it out on the court. I will be the worst defender, absolute worst defender in the entire league because I am not nearly athletic enough and I do not have the basketball smarts to process the things quickly enough to be a good defender at that level. Like there is innate skill that comes with being able to just process things quickly. There's the skills that you can practice, right? Being quicker, being a little bit more mobile with your hips, with that flexibility. And then of course, there's also just the God-given athleticism, right? All of that factors into how good a defender can be. It's not just about playing hard. The guys that say that are incredible athletes. The
I
rest
think
of us aren't.
a player that was like that. I used to think Avery Bradley was like this elite defender because he would try really hard, like he's always in your grill.
Yeah.
But I come to learn he's actually not very good at all because he's a bit undersized.
And
He
he was a
wasn't
high risk
amazing at
defender too.
yeah, he would always gamble, but because when you first turn on the TV, he's always up in the opponent's grill on ball. Like it was like, oh, he must be really good. He's trying, but effort's a part of it. But yeah, I love that from you, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Uh,
like the things balance out, right? It's not like effort's
Yeah.
not important, but you could have somebody giving low effort who's an incredible athlete, and he'll probably be like approaching average, if not slightly below it, right? And then
Yeah.
you could also have a guy that's not a great athlete, but he's NBA proficient, which is still, you know, top 1% of the entire population. But so NBA athlete, so he's proficient at that, and he plays his butt off. And okay, maybe he can get to average, but it's not like you could tell players. I mean, I apologize for throwing a stray out like this, but it's the first guy that came to mind. Like Luke Kennard could try as hard as he wants. He's not going to be a great defender. He could be okay. He'd never be great. Like it's not just effort. It drives me up a wall. There's my soapbox.
Yeah, another one I just thought of that's a similar vein, and this might be something I realized last night. I forgot who was calling the game, and which is probably good because I was kind of like, why did he say that? But like they were talking about Ron Holland and his toughness and everything, and like the overtime elite program was mentioned, but also kind of like given credit for that toughness. And I was like, that was a disaster. Like, I feel like this is just who Ron is, So like some things like maybe similar to what you mean on like the effort, just like trying to credit like toughness and tenacity to like some specific thing. And I'm just like, that's who this guy is.
Yeah, you can't teach that stuff. That's just how guys are wired.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like even at the high school level, guys either hustle really well or they don't. It's not like you could tell the guy, "Oh, you gotta hustle more," and then expect that to turn in a positive direction. Like, no.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. That's another great one.
Yeah, Ron, that's in his DNA. I think even after he had that scuffle with Draymond Green, Draymond was saying how he went and watched him maybe in AAU or something in high school, and he was like, I knew Ron was going to be one because he's like the hustle and how hard he plays. So yeah, no, Ron, that's who Ron is.
Oh yeah.
You got to give Draymond credit for that kind of stuff. As much of a button pusher as he is, he'll like hop into the post game comments and be like, "Yeah, that dude got my respect today." Like, it's like, okay, not like we really cared, but I still appreciate the call out, right?
But he's just unnecessarily mean to Karl Anthony Towns.
It just adds to the comedy of the Draymond Green show. All right. I think we're about up on time here, Jack. Thank you for sticking a little overtime with us. Really appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find your work, all your stuff, all your Pistons thoughts, especially the live post-game shows. I know those are well attended, but drop those as well.
Of course, yeah, just on all social channels, pretty much Pistons_Jack. If you're looking for some more Pistons content, and as Wes mentioned, we go live pretty much after every game within 20 minutes and do a little post-game show. We bring up fans. Anyone can join. You literally just need your phone. I send you a link. And you come up on stage like we're chatting here and we talk about the team, the game that just happened. And we normally go for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many people want to join. But yeah, just Pistons_Jack. But thank you so much for having me, guys. Everyone, please subscribe, like to this channel. These guys do amazing work. So check out Detroit Bad Boys. That's where I started doing my first bit of content. So I always have love for DetroitBadBoys.com. So check it out and support these two because they're amazing.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Can I just say quickly, I'm only noticing this right now, but this might be, I think, Jack, you're always looking dapper there with the mustache all well trimmed and maintained. Blake, it looks like you may have gotten like a fresh cut in the past week or so. I'm over here in a dress shirt. This may be the best looking Pindown episode we've ever done. So we got to thank you for that.
Also, shout out to the Pistons for that. I feel everyone's riding high a little bit after that incredible win last night. So, yeah, shout out to you, Jack, for joining. And it obviously, just still your time in Detroit's unreal. And I know it's not going to be the last time that you're in Detroit. So can't wait for everything that's going to come out of that too. And shout out to a fella for using the voice line. Just a reminder, anyone can call that number, ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you.